What's a great example of a 21st century mind in action?
I heard about a 25-year-old woman inventing wireless chargers.
Scientist who was born in Ethiopia, now he's using satellites to predict drought.
I really like that story about the car mechanic who developed the way to see babies.
Our question prompted all these responses about amazing technological breakthroughs and innovations. And then we heard one story that opened a door to a new way of thinking. It's about an art professor in Los Angeles named Mary Beth, who was watching the news around the Ebola crisis in West Africa and thought, wait a second, these patients must be so scared and lonely, and the only humans they're seeing are covered in these huge imposing suits.
In every report that I heard on the Ebola epidemic, they mentioned the frightening suits.
I imagined, what would it be like to be a patient, to not see a person's face for days on end? I found myself almost saying out loud, why don't they put photos on the outside? Why don't they just put photos on?
And finally, I thought, maybe I'm the one who's meant to do that.
And we were so moved because the way Mary Beth's story unfolds shines a light on a larger shift we're seeing in the world. As technologies are rapidly changing how we do everything, certain skills are becoming less valuable, the need to memorize, perform routine tasks, and soon even the need to drive, while others are becoming more valuable. So what exactly are the skills that prepare us for a world that's constantly changing? Of course, there's a lot of conversation around this question. What should we be focusing on in school and in life? There's the importance of science, technology, engineering, and math. I like to throw in art and humanities. So not STEM, not STEAM, but STEAM. And there's also amazing new evidence-based research proving that there's another set of skills we need that aren't in textbooks, yet. So as we learned more about Mary Beth's story and delved deep into how it connected to all the different schools of thought, the hard skills, the soft skills, the life skills, the cognitive, the non-cognitive, we found 5 skills, strengths, qualities, whatever you want to call them, and yes, it's another list, that seem to be at the core of thriving in today's world. So if you want to know what they are, or how Mary Beth's story relates to any of them, you're already practicing the first one, curiosity.
The news kept puncturing my consciousness. I started reading more extensively about West African culture, about filoviruses. I mentally just started problem solving.
In our 24/7 world where we're inundated with information from all directions, 3 billion Google searches a day, 300,000 tweets every minute, curiosity is the difference between skimming the surface of all those links and truly engaging. And not just looking for what's already out there, but also for ideas that aren't already out there. New research from UC Davis shows that when our curiosity is piqued, the brain activates regions associated with learning, memory, and even reward. It basically turns our minds into very happy sponges. And while there's a lot of fear out there that technologies are replacing what we do, our curiosity is one of the things that makes humans unique from machines, but not from animals. Machines follow rules very well, follow a designated pathway. But our minds are built to constantly adapt, to ask questions that create unexpected pathways, pathways that lead to even more curiosity. And those questions you ask and pathways you open also lead to creativity, our second skill.
And my immediate response was to look around me, take what was available, and repurpose it for that use.
We often think about creativity as part of art, but it's important in absolutely every context, taking different research and finding connections, a new synthesis, a new idea. Harvard psychologist Howard Gardner says creativity is liberating human energy. And in today's world, creativity is so key because you have so much information at your fingertips that getting that information is not the biggest challenge. In fact, more and more, the world is going to expect that you're curious enough to do that. It's how you bring your own unique perspective to connect ideas in new ways that's going to differentiate you. Research now shows that some of your most creative thoughts happen when your mind is left to wander, when you daydream, exercise, even when you're doing the dishes. But no matter how many creative ideas you have to do something with them. Which brings us to the third skill we need in today's world: taking initiative.
I wrote scores of letters to anybody that I could think of. Many responded positively. In fact, most responded positively. But getting someone to commit, to partner, was the most difficult part.
If you don't take initiative, your ideas will float into a sea of billions of thoughts being generated around you every day. And in order to begin and get something done, we use an incredible amount of things like intuition, judgment, discerning which ideas to act on, knowing when to shift directions or approach. Taking initiative also means knowing when to reach out to people. What would an artist think about your idea? What about a scientist? What about somebody from another country? Which is really about multidisciplinary thinking.
I reached out to epidemiologists, doctors, public health, NGOs, even anthropologists, asking, what do you think of this idea? How could I improve it?
There's so much talk today about how we're distracted by multitasking, but what we really need to be doing more of is multi-asking, across ages, races, genders, cultures, and disciplines. We think of the mind as private, and there's so much value in solo thinking, but there are also so many ways that the mind is public, this communal organ to communicate, to transfer ideas, and to collaborate. And collaborating, just like everything else about being human, can be messy. It takes understanding what you know and what you don't know. So the next time that you're collaborating, how can you make sure that your mind is really open to being changed? It really comes down to empathy.
I imagine what it would be like to be a patient, to be taken away from your family, taken away by somebody wearing this frightening suit. And then there's the view from the healthcare worker's side. You have your human tool to have patients accept your care, gone.
MIT researcher Rebecca Sachs suggests that this skill of sensing the motives and feelings of others really begins developing around the age of 5 and has the potential to grow stronger throughout life. But just like the rest of these skills, empathy takes practice. Looking people in the eye, truly trying to understand where they're coming from, taking the time to know the names and stories of people you interact with daily. And it seems as our world has become more and more connected, we have to remember that connecting broadly is meaningless unless we connect deeply. In fact, a 3 decades-long study of college students has found that empathy levels in our culture have dropped dramatically. It's clearly time to refocus. Empathy is at the core of our ability to communicate, to work together, to be part of our rapidly changing world, which is where you come in. For most of human history, we survived by creating an agricultural economy. 200 years ago, we shifted to an industrial economy. Just 50 years ago, we initiated the knowledge economy. And today, we're approaching another seismic shift. Some people are calling the human economy. So here we talk to scientists, friends, researchers, Mary Beth, and here's the part that we found most fascinating and hopeful. The skills we need most in today's world in any profession boil down to being human. Basically, the qualities that machines don't have. Eventually, through hundreds of connections, obstacles, and breakthroughs, Mary Beth was introduced to a doctor in Liberia who landed her an official invitation to begin work in their Ebola clinics.
I love patients so much. You see, I love the food too.
These skills have been the engine of innovation and survival since the beginning of civilization. But we've arrived at a time when your human skills are just as important as your knowledge. So what can you offer? Who's ready?
You open up when You had me in your hands, slipping far away with the world.